Thank you, Delma. All right, I'm going to stand here and we'll hand, Nita hand the mic. If anybody wants to come up and talk 2 or 3 minutes, then I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Mitchell, and we'll go from there. So then we'll, like I said, after that, we will, we got a special surprise. I want everybody to loosen up a little bit. This is something that my wife suggested. She said it would be pretty neat after everything is said and done if everybody would stand up and sing "Take Me Here to the Ball Game." So y'all got something to look forward to hear some of the people that can't sing like me. You can just kind of move your mouth a little bit. We'll go from there. All right.
For those of you that might not know, my name is Don Daniel. Bill Mitchell taught me Sunday school. He coached me basketball, although I was in about the same position Joe was. I might have bounced the ball 10 times over the season, I don't know. But I played 3 years of baseball for him. I've known him all my life. He played high school ball with my dad. And he's been a friend and a mentor that entire time. But perhaps more importantly tonight, Coach, I bring you congratulations and regrets that it cannot be here tonight from Coach Eddie Dean and his wife Ann. For any of you that might not know, Coach Dean had suffered a stroke about 2 weeks ago, and he's in rehab in Culpeper. Hoping for a full recovery, but that will remain to be seen. They pass their warmest regards to you and their congratulations. In addition, Ann pointed out that Corey Dean, when he was playing ball for you, he made an error. You came out and looked at him. He was terrified. And all you said was, "Don't worry about it, son. Baseball's supposed to be fun." Yeah. I've got a couple quick anecdotes to pass along on you. Ever since I graduated, every time I see this man, he tells me a tale that I have no remembrance of. According to him, we had runners on first and third. I played second base. Guy took off, tried to pull the double steal. The guy headed for second. The catcher threw him out, and I threw home, and we got the guy home. Claims it's the only time he ever saw it work. I can't believe it, but anyway. And then the second one was when we had a home game. He makes like he doesn't remember this one. And I'm playing second, the leadoff batter hits a ground ball that goes right through the wickets. Second batter hits a pop-up. Now, it was windy that afternoon. And, you know, run around like a chicken, the ball falls behind me. Only one error in the book, but two really. He calls timeout, calls the entire infield into the pitcher's mound. Slowly walks out there, as Joe pointed out. Looks at me and says, "Duck, you all right?" Turn around, walk back to the dugout. I think we won the game, but I'm not sure. But as everybody else has pointed out, this gentleman has made one tremendous lifelong contribution to the Madison County school system in particular, and we thank you for it. Thank you, God.
Come on, Donnie. I'm Becky Gore, Becky Estes Gore. I came to the this high school in 1961, and I graduated in 1966. So I had, because that's when we had an 8th grade. And, but all the girls raced in room 202 upstairs. We all raced to the front seats of math class for the first time because we knew that the best looking young man was going to teach that class. And that was, of course, Mr. Mitchell. But I wrote down a few things today because I didn't want to forget some of the most important things about this man. And Mr. Mitchell was a man before his time. He enjoyed having girls in math class. He made us feel real welcome in that class, and he wanted us to excel. And that was a first. That was a first for us young women to have somebody that really enjoyed having smart girls in a class. And he was always, always encouraging us. He made us feel extremely welcome in that class. He made numbers make sense for a change. And I was not really good at math. He says I used to jump up and raise my hand and out-blurted the number, which, you know, he would just say, calm down, you know, you get your chance, which I was always known to be one that would speak up and blurt it out. And he had all these little tricks that he would have in his class that day to make us want to be back the next day. So he was a great, great, great educator. Not only just a coach, but an educator. He challenged us. Looking back today, Mr. Mitchell made connections. That's what I can remember him for. And he made connections with everybody. Didn't make any difference where you came from. You know, God's country, he told us, was Pratt's, Virginia. I remember that. From day one, God's country was Pratt's, Virginia. But he brought all the little villages together. You know, Brightwood, Kriggersville, Pratt's, of course, Rochelle, where I was from. He brought us all together in many, many, many different ways. While I was here at MCHS, I think all you guys can probably remember, you know, the colors that used to be at the old high school used to be red and white, weren't they? And you were called the Rockets. Am I wrong? You weren't called Mountaineers. This is why we are now Mountaineers. Mr. Mitchell introduced the Mountaineers. He also introduced that blue and white, as I recall. And later on, I'm going to have another little story to tell you when I had the opportunity to coach with him. And someone mentioned earlier, maybe it was Red, that how he always wanted you to look really spiffy. I mean, when you walked on a field, your shoes better be shined. And he taught me this later on when I was a coach here. But your shoes better be shined, and he also taught me how to put a pair of knickers on, because when I first started coaching softball, we wore long pants. And he showed me one day the right way. You didn't have wrinkles in the bottoms, and so I can remember in my area down at the field house having all these girls in front of me, and I said, all right, you're going to put these uniforms on and you're going to put them on right. And we pull those pants down and drop them to the floor, and you want You know, when we were here in high school, like with Ray Brown and Donnie and all of us, when all of us were here in high school, this man could have wore a big S on his chest and wore a red cape, as far as many of us were concerned, because he did everything. He taught math, he taught PE, he was the athletic director, he was assistant principal, he did attendance, He coached baseball, he coached basketball, he coached football, everything. The only one thing he didn't coach, of course, at that time was girls basketball. When I came as a teacher in 1972, those times had changed. Many of you probably don't know this, but Coach Sterrett was here. She coached basketball. I was on her undefeated team in '66, but her health went south. She became very, very ill, and they were not going to continue the women's basketball program, which was the only thing here for women. They canvassed the faculty. No one was really interested, so the program was not going to fly. Who steps up? Right here, Coach Billy Mitchell steps up and said, well, he would do it. And I think he said, well, I'll do it for a year or so until we can find somebody. It was, and I don't know, are there any girls here that played basketball for him? Would you please stand up? You know, we've had, and
2 of my sisters played.
And right. I remember what he told me when I started coaching. He says, they're athletes. They can be an athlete too. Don't treat them like a girl. Treat them like an athlete. They can learn the fundamentals just like a guy. One of the first girls I ever saw get up off the floor on a jump shot. This man was coaching her. I had the honor to sit on the bench with him, and the girl could dribble behind her back. She could do left-handed layups, right-handed layups. She was awesome. Mr. Mitchell, right here. When I came back to coach, it wasn't a real popular item at the time. I was told that I probably wouldn't have anybody come out. There probably wouldn't be any girls that would want to play. Well, I had 45 girls that wanted to play that spring. I didn't know a thing about it. All I wanted to do was give a girl the opportunity to play a sport, so that they could feel the same connection to this high school as all you young men sitting here. I never had a chance to play baseball because I was a girl. My daddy had been a pitcher here at Madison County High School. His catcher was Mr. Jim Carpenter. And the two men that helped me get this program off the ground was Mr. Billy Mitchell and Mr. Jim Carpenter. And the third person, of course, was my husband, Tom Gore. And again, not knowing a thing, he says, Becky, don't worry about it. I'll teach you the plays that we used in baseball, because fast pitch softball was a lot like baseball. And he sat with me. It wasn't a popular thing, but he sat with me in the afternoons and taught me relays. He taught me cutoffs. He taught me pickoffs. I mean, everything. How you did
And that's why I told him how to slide so they wouldn't hurt themselves.
That's right, he did. I forgot that, Billy. Yeah, he took us out back in the grass with a PE mat and taught us how to slide. I didn't know, but because of Billy, because of him having the faith in young women being athletes, and you girls that played for him, you know this. It wasn't popular. But Billy was the type that he was going to make a connection, didn't make any difference. And the last thing I want to say was that I had the opportunity to coach with him. That was probably one of the greatest things I ever did. And he was my mentor. He taught me more about basketball than Hoot Gibson at UVA, which I had his class when I was there as a student. And he was just a wonderful, wonderful mentor. I'm skipping way down, y'all, so because I know my time is coming right to an end. I want to say one other thing, and that was when he left Madison County High School and became a principal. I was with my daughter this afternoon, and I was telling her that I hope to get an opportunity to say something about Mr. Mitchell. And she said, will you remind everybody, and this is from Ann, I'm a mom at this time, and I would drop my children off at the primary school. Billy Mitchell would be on his knees welcoming every kid that got out of that school bus or got out of a car. And Ann said, Mom, his guitar came up. I like to eat apples and bananas.
Finally got somebody to listen to me.
All right. We knew he was the boss, but he was such a tender man. We loved him. We loved him. He made us feel safe.
Oh, okay, next. One thing I'll share with you, Mr. Mitchell taught me bookkeeping. And I was able to do good in that because he would take me to the class and go down on the field and catch him and Jim Kate. And I got a B in it, and Mom and Dad were they said, how did you ever get a B? You never had one before. Well, Mom, I really like Mr. Mitchell. He really taught me well.
I am Carty Yao, and I've known Mr. Mitchell as a coach and a teacher as well. And we were in class one day, and he says, I got a question for you. This on the education side. We'll skip the sports for a minute. Education side, he says, I am 20 years old, and you are 10. Okay, let's say I'm 20 and you're 10. So that means I am twice as old as you are. Is that correct? Oh, yes, sir, that's it. So next year, I'm 21 and you are 11. So I am no longer twice as old as you are. Is that correct? Yes, sir. So how many years will it take before you and I are the same age? Still thinking about that.
We have no one else that wants to speak. If anybody wants to come up, feel free to do so.
Can you hear from me? Can you hear?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm gonna borrow this, Carl. I think you missed the fact he played football here as well. Well, probably the first football team, right? Anyway, there's been some great people in this life. I'm not sure if I'm getting all of them right. And Joe, Joey, you're gonna step in if I say something wrong here. I believe Billy McCann coached here for a while. Yeah. Chuck Noe. Yeah. Mac Pitt was a legend at Richmond, and still is. And I was there on a project in 2010 or 2011, and your name is still in the record book for that for something. I can't remember.
Absentee. No.
Since you mentioned that, I also got to add the fact that when he was doing that excused absence foolishness in the middle room out there, I think it was Douglas Taylor came in. I said, Douglas, where were you yesterday? He said, I had to go home. Look, I said, well, did you get anything? Yes, sir. Now, he told me when he was playing football, and this is a big deal when you played sports in the military back in the 50s. College athletes that made All-American didn't get to play in some of those teams. He told me he got off an 80-yard punt in Germany because he found he was fortunate enough to be on the only dry spot on the field where he could get a good grip with his feet. He got off his punt and went 80 yards. So I don't know where he was punting from, but he got an 80 yards.
Hey, it started at 72, it's gotten all up to 80.
Yeah, and Red, you know, a lot of us, he told us we were pretty slow too, but he said that, he told us the trick to use if we ever got the opportunity to round second, reach up and flip your hat off and make the outfielder think you're really moving fast. And there's a chance you throw a wild ball and you get on there. And, trying to think what else. He did, the one pro story that I remember the best, it must have been bottom of the ninth because it was a walk-off situation. He had a batter to a 3-0 count. And that batter was Willie McCovey. Now, I don't know, if you know baseball history, you know who Willie McCovey was. I believe he's in the Hall of Fame.
Cubby's field, yeah.
Anyway, his catcher was a guy named Charlie Lau. Now, if you really know baseball history, you know who Charlie Lau was. And the last I read about Charlie, he was a batting coach or a hitting coach for a guy named Rod Carew. And Rod Carew was one of the best hitters of all time. And anyway, he had Willie McCovey on a 3-0 count. So Charlie Lau comes out and says, "Hey, Mitch, you got him set up. He's going to be taken all the way. Just throw it down the middle as hard as you can." So Billy ran back and let go. And when he looked up, he saw something going on with the right Well, they walked off slow. Charlie Lau runs up to him and says, "Damn, Mitch, you wasn't taken, was it?" Right fielder runs by and says, "Hey, Mitch, if you were having a shower, you can come out and see that thing come down."
Thank you so much for that.
One last thing, just to tell you how this guy was connected.
We were playing right down here in Danville, and they found that ball in Tampa Bay, Florida. Right in the morning.
When he was coaching Valley League baseball, this was awesome. I don't know how much, you must have made millions doing that, because I know you did really well right now. Valley League baseball was a way of life in this area back in, I guess, the late 50s on through the 60s into the 70s, man. He had a young man that actually stayed at his house by the name of Bill Collins. And the last I remember reading about Bill, he had a lot to do with bringing the Nationals to Washington. So that's who you were connected to there. Now, I also want to add that his 3 older sisters who are no longer with us would really be happy for him. They would congratulate him. And like I told my family here, the next thing they would say is, "Don't let it go to your head."
You should write a book. Yeah, everybody in Congress is writing one. They sell them like everything. Write a book.
I want to tell 2 quick stories before we turn the mic over to Coach Mitchell. I came to Madison long after Billy had earned his glory, and I guess I was a young whippersnapper. I'd just been playing baseball at the University of Virginia. I thought I was something, and I was coaching a junior Babe Ruth team, and this fellow that was coaching the other team kept coaching my players. And I took offense, and as we were exchanging our positions at third base, I said, "Hey, fella, you coach your team, I'll coach mine." And he looked at me and said, "Well, they're all my kids." And I didn't know who it was. And I got home and told Jane about it. He said, "Who was it?" I said, "Billy, somebody." He said, "Billy Mitchell?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah, they are. They're all his kids." And then this was much more recent. A few years ago, probably about 3 years ago, I was over at Shenandoah at Larry Doppelmayer's house. Larry Doppelmayer, legendary coach, the Shenandoah Indians, and I'd played against him in Newmarket, but I got invited to a reunion of Shenandoah Indians players. I think they hit the ball so hard off of me they wanted to remember me. But I met a man there, and he said, "Oh, you still live in Newmarket?" I said, "No, I live in Madison." His eyes lit up. He said, "Do you know Billy Mitchell?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, I know Billy well." And this young man, you can help me remember his name. He thinks he was the first African American player to play for the Blue Jays. And
Got his pictures home. He dropped by. He made it to the Yankees. He dropped by.
Yeah, what's his name?
Well, I couldn't some
You're
things
younger
I
than I am.
forget.
You ought to be able to
Some
remember
things
that.
I forget, but the bad thing is, nobody knows what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay. So, but anyway, he talked about being the first African-American player here. It was not entirely comfortable, but he remembered so well Billy Mitchell reaching out to him and making him feel comfortable here in Madison. And I think to me, both those stories just illustrate the kind of human being Billy Mitchell is. Pleasure to honor you tonight. I look forward to hearing from you, Billy.
If anybody else wants to say something, okay, come on up.
Hey, Red, I think I can stand right here.
That's fine, yeah.
I'm Nancy Knighting, I graduated in '65. And I just wanted to put in a little plug for the cheerleaders. I was a cheerleader, Mr. Mitchell was there to help us as well as coaching and whatever else was there. We even got to ride the bus to Orange because we didn't have any lights on the field. So we would get to ride with the football boys for the football games. Also, he was my 8th grade math teacher. I don't think I would ever got math at all if I hadn't had him. He was just so good at explaining it to you. I know Brenda's here, she was a cheerleader. I don't know whether any other cheerleaders are here or not, but just wanted to put in a plug for the cheerleaders as well.